Morning, everybody. Thank you for coming and joining us after that awesome celebration last night. I appreciate you pushing through the hangover to be with us here this morning. That's great of you. My name is John Levesque. I am a senior program manager on the Microsoft Flow team. I don't have a whole ton of time. I have an hour and 15 of content we're going to stuff into 45, so introductions will be short. But one thing, if you want to learn a lot about Microsoft Flow, take a picture of that YouTube link. You will want to have that.
And my name's Kent Weir. I'm a senior manager of enterprise architecture and integration at Interpipeline. We're an energy transportation company in Alberta, Canada. Joining me is Tyler Arnott. He's going to be on stage in a little bit. So he's a counterpart for the business in an emerging space. And we're going to talk about our collaboration between IT and the business this morning. In addition, yes, we are both Canadian. Tyler's from world-famous Moose Jaw. I'm from Regina, and we both cheer for the first place Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Woo. All right, so a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So one thing, at this conference, there was this brand new thing announced, Power Automate. And I just want to be clear here so everyone is aware. Microsoft Flow is Power Automate. It's a rebranding with some new functionality added. Power Automate is not a net new service. It is Microsoft Flow. I just want to go ahead and set that context with everyone so we're all on the same page there. What is Power Automate? It is one of the tools that makes up the Power Platform. And so I'm going to go ahead and assume that you will have some base level understanding of what the Power Platform is to be in this session. If I'm incorrect, I'm sorry. So Power Platform is part of the Power Automate is part of the Power Platform, which is part of our less code, more power movement. Just went ahead and created this brand new sticker yesterday. If you guys would like a copy of these, I don't have them on me now because I just created it. I'm going to get them printed and I'm going to ship them. So connect with me on Twitter to stay tuned on how to get some of these stickers. Okay, on to the show. Let's talk a little bit about transformation. Transformation is a very overloaded word, and oftentimes people don't really know how to define it. And so the thing I want to talk about today with transformation is that when you expect something to transform, there's going to be many hurdles, many things to overcome in that journey. And so it's hard work. It comes with many hurdles. What are some of those? The first one is really fear. People fear what they don't know. They don't like change. And to set some groundwork here for the rest of the talk, fear is an important piece because it ties into how we're going to actually motivate people to do these transformation initiatives. So we have to understand people that each have. I travel around the world a lot and I meet a lot of people in a lot of places. And it's funny because we all like to think we're very different. But wherever I go, people are very similar, and we're all equally motivated by the same things. And so no matter what crowd I go to in the world, I can say this, and it's universally true. Each of us, all of us as humans, are motivated by the same two things. And so the first thing we are motivated by is, I want to look good. Right? We will do anything if it gives us the opportunity to look good in front of other human beings. We can be motivated to do things we might not want to do if we think it will make us look good. Does anyone want to guess what is the second human motivator? I don't want to look bad. Yes, it's true. And so this is important to know as we move into the talk. Two human motivators. I want to look good. I don't want to look bad. And so keeping that in mind as we build the context here will definitely benefit us. Because if you can help a person look good or avoid looking bad, they're much more likely to be open to change, to do something new for you. Now, the next thing you're going to run into here, some companies have amazingly difficult processes to acquire new software. I know at Microsoft, it takes me a 3-page request to get a $15 license to try. And I don't know about you, but that's just not efficient. For me, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm just going to keep on doing it the way I'm doing it. Now, there's an inverse to that effect. Other companies have too many tools. They buy every tool on the planet, and then they don't give any training or advice on which to use when. So great, I have Dropbox and OneDrive and SharePoint and Box and 30 other places to store my files. Like, which one do I choose and why? Hey, Kent, at Interpipeline, which one are you guys suffering with? A lack of tools or too many tools?
So I'd say we're somewhere in the middle. And the reason why I say that is we do want to empower our employees. So we don't try to block tools like Power Apps, Flow, Power Automate, Power BI. We want to actually enable people to go ahead and use those tools. And so all we look for is some level of a simple justification to understand what is the value that that tool is going to derive. And the reason why I say on the middle is sometimes we do creep into the too many options as well. And I think we're pretty deliberate about not going down that path, but I think everyone that has Office 365 in this room runs into this problem. Should I use SharePoint? Should I use Teams? Should I use OneDrive? And then we also have some of our more legacy tools as well, whether that's network file shares or enterprise content management solutions as well. And so I think the advice or the way we try to look at this is being very deliberate about what are the tools that you should be using in those specific scenarios.
That's good. I think what you said there, simple process, simple justification, right? If I have to fill out 10 pages, I'm not going to do it. But if it's maybe a half a page, no problem. I can work with that.
No, if it's like a sentence or two.
A sentence or two.
Because if you think about it, like, those people are already disrupted. Like, their day is already being disrupted. They have a problem. They're looking for a tool. If they have to wait 2 days to get the tool, like, that demand is gone.
I'm going to move on. Yeah.
And are they satisfied? Yeah. Are they satisfied? No. So we really want to avoid that. And we've actually automated a lot of our processes for acquiring those tools using the Power Platform as well.
Awesome. So the next thing and the final thing here, the hurdles I want to point out is the stuck mindset. So, you know, obviously no one in this room, but out there are a whole lot of people who are stuck in the past, who are not willing to change, who think we're going to keep our data on-prem here where it's safe. You would be amazed at how many conversations I have with customers who still believe that their on-premise servers are the safest place for their data to be. And my favorite part of that conversation with them is, how much did you spend on security last year? And inevitably, it's some very minute amount. The best amount I ever heard was $1.7 million. I said, great, that's a good number, $1.7 million on security. Well, Microsoft spent $37 billion. And so the fact that you think that your on-prem data center is more secure is kind of funny. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. So, how do we get people from this place of, you know, change is tough? We recognize this. So, let's talk about some numbers here. Maybe the numbers make it worth it. If companies are willing to invest in transformation initiatives, they usually see about an 18% increase over 3 years. There's a $500 billion software spend this year. Well, I guess we're in November now, so maybe there's, you know, $50 billion left. Still, some opportunity left to be had this year. Also, disruption, transformation as an industry is $100 trillion opportunity over the next 10 years. Now, what does that all mean? It means that if you're willing to take a risk, if you're willing to go and try something new, if you're willing to get out of your stuck mindset, there's some great opportunity out there to be had. But that doesn't all really matter to you and I, right? Because I don't know about you, but there's not many times that I'm walking around my job at Microsoft thinking about how I contribute to the bottom line. No, I'm like, man, I got 500 emails to answer. I got mad customers that are waiting on me. I have all sorts of tasks. I'm not thinking about how my work contributes to the bottom line. And more importantly, those numbers don't quite matter to the end user because we as people will do anything to avoid changing at work. So this slide used to say people will do anything to avoid change, and Tyler here gave me some great insight on this. Because the truth is, you know what, we do actually change a lot more in our personal lives than we do at work. Think about it, like taxis to Uber, and Uber Eats now. I don't have to go to the store, I'll just have food delivered to my house. We expect this rapid rate of innovation in our personal lives where if I can't order nachos from my bathtub next week, I'm gonna be upset. But yet, I'll go to work and I'll keep working in Excel spreadsheets like it's 1994. Why is that? Why will I keep doing what I'm doing at work, but yet be willing to change my personal life? Why? We go back to those motivators, right? I don't want to look bad, I want to look good. And I can get it done this way, even if it's hard, even if it sucks, I can get it done this way, and I know that. So, it's important to know. Now, how is it that we make people start to change their mind, Kent?
So the way we've approached it at Interpipeline is we've really tried to focus on empowerment and actually giving folks the opportunity to look good, the opportunity to avoid looking bad, the ability to reward them when they've done something well. And I think the reality is if you don't want to change, someone will change for you. And I think you've given some examples in the sort of consumer space. I witnessed it last night, waiting for an Uber myself. But the reality is if you don't want to change, then people will do that for you.
It's eventually forced on you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is the stuck mindset is something you see a lot, especially when you've got people that have been entrenched in the enterprise for some time, and then all of a sudden this new technology comes in and really starts to disrupt things. And disrupt can be a positive thing or it can be a negative thing. And I think it's been something just interesting as Tyler's recently joined the organization, and even as we're now pursuing this new line of business that can create significant opportunities for us, we need to think differently if we're going to actually go ahead and actually capture part of that market.
Definitely.
And one way that we go ahead and do this is the art of the possible. And we're going to talk about that today, where it is important for you, whether you're in the IT department or you're in the business units, to actually go out and take a look at what's actually available today. Because if you don't actually understand what the options are, you're not going to change. You need to find inspiration. And inspiration doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be hard. But you do need to put a conscious effort towards that. And that's something that we've really been embracing at Interpipeline, where we've done these sessions with the business. We've brought in external parties, vendors, and we've given people the opportunity to get in front of them and actually demonstrate what could be possible if only we think a little bit different.
Yeah. So, what makes the art of the possible possible? I think it's these 6 steps here. Now, there may be more, but I think these 6 are really your most essential. So, first things first is show and tell, because people don't know what they don't know. And so if they don't see, they will continue to not know. Next is opportunity, presentation, and how I present something to someone. If I present it like an opportunity, will make a change versus not. It's time to wake up. Next one is ownership. I want to make sure that people transcend that it's not my job mentality. Value. I have to feel like I can transfer value with something to feel comfortable using it. Rewards. What's in it for me? Everybody wants to know, right? I'm not going to go and do something without something being in it for me. And then support. One of the very most important pieces of this talk, leadership support, is vital. So let's jump into each of these. Show and tell. So show and tell, like kindergarten, show and tell, right? I have a little bit of a story. I have a 5-year-old son, and when I'm not traveling for work, which I do often, I get to work from home. And so one day, I got to take my son into show and tell. And he was so excited because he had just gotten this brand new tool belt, those kids' little tool belts, Tyco, with like a drill and a wrench and a screwdriver and stuff in it. So he gets up, and it's his turn. He gets up in front of his class, and he stands up there, and he's like, "This is my tool belt." He pulls out his drill. He says, "This is a drill." He pulls out his wrench. "This is a wrench." And then he pulls out his hammer, and he says, This is my hammer. And with my hammer, I'm going to build a tree house. And in my tree house, there's going to be a slide, and there's going to be a rope to climb, and I want my grandma to come visit. And he had all this stuff he had to say about the tree house. And what's funny to me is I had never heard him talk about a tree house before. But suddenly, because he had a brand new set of tools, there was a whole set of new possibilities for him. And unless he had been shown those tools or saw someone working on a treehouse with a hammer at some point, probably on YouTube Kids, he probably wouldn't have made that connection, right? But that new set of tools gave him a new set of possibilities about what he could create. And so in this journey, that's what you're all here doing this week, show and tell. You got these people up on stage. Look at this awesome thing I've made. Don't you want to make one too? It's the most important part of this transformation journey. People have to see with their eyes so they can understand what's possible, so that they know where they can go, so that they can make those connections to their area of work. The next piece, opportunity. You have to present things like an opportunity. You know, it's like I can ask you, hey Sarah, would you wash my laundry? And you'd be like, no, why would I wash your laundry? But if I said, hey Sarah, I got this pile of laundry that needs doing. I really don't want to do it. I'm pretty sure that I had left $200 in a pants pocket, and if you find it, it's yours. You might do the laundry, right? Little bit better possibility. Sarah hates laundry, so bad person to ask. But see how if you present something a certain way with just a bit of tone, a bit of spin, it makes a huge difference to people. I'm going to go ahead and skip these next two slides in the interest of time here. The next one is rewards. What's in it for me? So most people, when I say that, they think money, right? Let's do a little test here. How many Microsoft MVPs are in the room? Could you raise your hand? 1, 2, okay, so keep your 3, go ahead. Okay, so keep your hands raised real quick. Okay, so everyone look at these guys. These guys here are proof that you can get a human being to do a whole ton of free work for just a badge. Okay, so rewards don't, you guys can put your hands down, thank you so much. Rewards don't always have to be monetary, right? It could just be your name in a newsletter. It could be a badge on your chest. It could be recognition at the company meeting. People will do anything to get their name on a list. And you just saw, these guys are living proof. They do all kinds of work for Microsoft. They get some benefits. I'm not minimizing what they're doing with the badge, but it's proof that people will definitely be willing to work for small rewards, smaller rewards than you think. The last one, support. Kent, you want to speak to support?
Sure, let's do it. So support, so something we're going to introduce here shortly is this idea of bottom-up innovation. And the challenge or the transition for a lot of organizations is they need to think differently. And for leadership, there is this element of letting go of a little bit control. And the flip side of that is you're empowering and transitioning some of the accountability down to the people that are doing the work. And so really, in this model, the idea is that leadership is there to remove the roadblocks, to put in a system that provides some level of governance so people can move quickly, but the idea is, how can I get the most out of my organization? And it does take strong leadership in order to go ahead and do this, but it is essential if you want people to think differently and to own something and to see it through to an outcome.
If people feel like leadership is not on their side, they're not going to move. And so how do we all play our part to create a future where line of business technology is democratized and working for everyone? I think this is an important part to get. What we want to talk about here is not the citizen developer or any persona. This is about democratizing to the entire business. This is about making sure that everybody plays their part. So, real quick, how does this look? Democratized tools allow frontline teams to build solutions on the fly. The people solving the problem are the people closest to the problem. Imagine, what a novel idea. Developers enable access to data through building connectors and connected services. IT is ensuring proper security and access through environment management, DLP, and advanced analytics. Leadership is there, most importantly, to unblock, to make sure that every justified initiative can become a real one. So, what then? If a company decides to take these ideas that we've just talked about and put them into practice, what then is possible? And so Kent is here to talk about that. And so Kent, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, man. I'm going to go ahead and be quiet over here for a while.
You promise?
I promise.
Just joking. So we're going to talk a little bit about the interpipeline story. So the whole sort of idea behind this session is, Microsoft has provided some good thought leadership in this space in terms of how people should be thinking about transformation. And then in order to make this real, we wanted to share our story from an interpipeline perspective on how we've approached this. And hopefully there's some things that you can take back to your organization and leverage as well. Now, Interpipeline is a major petroleum transportation, storage, and natural gas liquids processing business based in Alberta, Canada. We own and operate 4 different segments in Western Canada, and we have some storage facilities in Europe. And then in addition, Tyler's going to talk a little bit about our new line of business and a new big project that the company is embarking on here shortly. Now, what is bottom-up innovation? Like, this is a program that we're running at Interpipeline. And what this involves is it involves bringing together a diverse audience throughout the organization and actually giving them an opportunity to go ahead and learn. We're trying to empower those people and give them the tools and the skills, and then giving them the ability to actually go ahead and execute on what they've actually learned. And so we've got 3 core curriculums. Technically, we also have an Office 365 arm, but I'm not as involved in that side. And the 3 curriculums involve Power Apps and Flow training, a separate session on our training curriculum on Flow, and then also Power BI. And so as you can see in the top left-hand corner, there's a familiar face, John. He's had the opportunity to come up and visit us a couple times. It's amazing what you can do when you entice him with skiing and hiking. He'll come visit you.
I will. If you guys want to get me to come to your customer site, a skiing trip, that's a surefire way.
And then on top of that, we've hosted this training in 3 different locations. So in our head office in Calgary, in Sherwood Park, which is just outside of Edmonton, Alberta, about 3 hours away, and then also Fort Saskatchewan, which we're going to see a picture of here shortly. And the big focus here is we are inviting a diverse audience. We are looking at diversity through their functional skills. So they could be a business analyst. They could be an ERP analyst. They could be in the business. It could be different technical skills. So we've had people that are developers, we've had architects, we've had project managers, and we've also invited the business. And so you might be saying from an IT department perspective, like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? And I don't think we are. I think what we're trying to do is be a little bit different, and we recognize that what's good for the company is actually good for IT. If IT's job is just to try to keep everything in a data silo, your company's not going to grow, it's not going to expand, and you're not going to move the needle. And so this is what we look at, is we're looking for holistic business outcomes. And this is also part of the reason why we wanted to bring Tyler from the business actually along with us to share his perspective on all of this as well.
Wait. You mean you're trusting your end users?
Yeah, we are. And we won't go too far down the whole governance talk, but certainly happy to chat more about that after. But we have put in place Power Platform governance. We've used a lot of the tools, the connectors, the PowerShell commandlets that are provided by Microsoft, and that's what gives us the comfort in order to roll this out. We've also done some segregation through environments as well, so that we actually go ahead and encourage people to use it. We've renamed our default environment Personal Productivity. We are giving you permission to actually go ahead and make your job a better experience and more productive, because at the end of the day, we want the business to do better, not just IT.
I like that.
So this is the most unique training location. This is essentially Tyler's new office, or it will be his new office. This actually looks smaller in this picture. You're going to see a short video in a little bit, which will give you a better perspective of how massive this project is and what it means for the company itself. And so this is another example of IT going, there's demand, people are expressing interest, they're exploring the Office 365 waffle, they're clicking on flows, they're using templates, and then we're saying, wow, we've got some interest here, we should actually go try and understand what they're trying to do, and then we should actually go ahead and try and help them. And at the end of the day, we feel that that is a better alternative to people finding their own solutions.
Yep.
And when you start to go out and buy some of these other third-party services where you have zero governance, we feel much more comfortable taking advantage of the governance we get through Microsoft. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Power Platform, but these are the different curriculums that we use. We see these as low-code, no-code alternatives. That is a term that we do use inside of the company. We see it as a viable option when evaluating solutions. I think in the past what we've done is we've offered or we've acquired a lot of SaaS applications. And SaaS applications is a loaded term. Some of these are smaller tools, but the funny thing is the data is always locked up. You're always then trying to pull that data in and some vendors have better capabilities than others, as opposed to just building something where you're actually up-leveling the skill and the knowledge in your organization instead of up-leveling the knowledge in someone else's organization. Now, this is the app that everybody goes ahead and builds. It's an expense tracker where they can send off an approval to their manager using Flow, and obviously the Office 365 connector. They store the data in SharePoint. And this training is targeted at people that have never even touched the Power Platform before. So they come in with this preconceived notion of what their limit is. And at the end of the day, they've blown right through that. They've blown through that after the first break. Yep. Because I always ask, like, where do you think you're headed at the beginning of the day? Like, how far do you think you'll go? And no one thinks that they're going to have a mobile app that they created on their phone. Like, that's left for the pro developers and where you get it on the Apple App Store, the Android App Store. Yep. And then when people actually now have this, it changes them. The light bulb goes off, and this is only in the matter of a few hours.
They have a new hammer to leave with, right? It's a new set of possibilities that they never thought they could have before.
And so this is the first group that we put through training. This was back in March. And I think an interesting aspect of how we approach this is it isn't just training. You know, whenever you go to training, there's always that risk of I learn and then I forget. And the reason why you do that is you actually haven't applied what you've learned. And so what we do is, taking advantage of that diversity theme, is we actually split the attendees up into different groups. And these are like groups, people that they haven't worked with before, don't work with regularly. And then we ask them to identify 3 business opportunities. What is something that's a pain for you? And then we actually empower them to actually go ahead and build that out. And in this case, we want them to also prioritize and sort of think which one has the most value. So we ask them to identify 3, but then prioritize 1. And then back to that accountability. We're giving you company time. We are investing in you. But in the flip side is now you own it, right? So you make commitments to us in terms of what are the milestones for the different activities, who's responsible, and when will they actually be completed. Then what we do is we have a midpoint check-in. So that's approximately 3 weeks later. Now you might be wondering why people are looking different. We actually have another monitor behind the picture, so that's why people are looking that way. And the questions are, how are you progressing? Are you blocked? What have you learned? What would you do differently? And this is really leadership's role. Like back to that support, that's exactly what this is. Where it's not for me to get in there and say, look, you should have done it this way, right? No, it's about what did you learn? And actually, how can others learn from the challenges that you ran into? And then naturally, like, what would you do different? If you were to do this again, how would you approach it? How could it be better? And really taking advantage of that growth mindset. The next thing we do is at the end of the curriculum, or at the end of the semester, in this case it's 6 weeks later, we bring in the senior leadership. In this case, it's our IT GM and the CFO. And back to that recognition, this is another part of it, where now these people that may not have a lot of exposure to those leaders have the opportunity to share what they've actually just built. And then in the first case, with the first cohort, the senior leadership was so impressed with what was done so quickly that they actually brought that up to the senior vice presidents and the CEO of the company, which had never been done before. IT had never demoed products to the CEO in the past. And so naturally, we got a lot of support to go further and to actually dive deeper into the business in order to generate some results. Now, we don't have time to go through each use case, but these are the use cases that those teams built out. One is a bot. One is to track software licensing. Another is a station checklist for our pipelines group. And then the last one is the ability to scan barcodes to help us out with our asset inventory for IT. Now, this is where things start to get a little more interesting. So this is our August cohort. So at this point, John's hiking. And once again, we've got, previously he was skiing. At this point, these are the different personas. And I think this is hugely important. Back to John's comment about citizen development. Like, I'm not a big fan of that because it imposes a label, it imposes a limit. What we like to do is think of this from a diversity perspective. We have people that work with SAP. We have people that work in GIS. We have BI developers, a security architect. You want to actually get some buy-in from security? Actually get a security architect to automate their job and help them out, and then see what what's good for them should be good for others. We have junior people that just joined our organization, an organizational change management analyst, health and safety, etc. Now, the group we want to focus on today is these folks at the back of the room. One person had some exposure to the Power Platform, the other two brand new, never touched it before. And this is the story of the management framework project that Tyler was the business stakeholder of. So let's just have a quick video of what Interpipeline is and what we're trying to achieve.
Momentum continues to grow on Interpipeline's latest game-changing project, the Heartland Petrochemical Complex.
We study, we analyze, we understand the risks. If the rewards justify those risks, we're willing to take bold steps.
A $3.5 billion vision for Alberta, the first of its kind in Canada.
This project really came from outside the box. It hasn't been done.
It's a commodity for the future, not a commodity for the past. It's exciting to be a part of that.
So good afternoon, everyone. As was mentioned, my name's Tyler Arnott. I'm a technical services manager for Interpipeline on the new project that was just highlighted there. And I was the business partner that joined up on this app development up in Calgary, Alberta. So what you see on the screen right now is what we call our management framework. And to really simplify it or make it as simple as I can, this is how we do all the work that we do at our facility. So this is how we do maintenance, this is how we do engineering, this is how we do management of change, and it really spells out all those different things. But the trick was we didn't have any of this stuff developed. And so this project was really about developing this management framework from the ground up and giving visibility to leaders and the people that own these processes on how that development is going. Are we on track? Are we behind? Are we ahead? Because we need to start this facility at the end of 2021, and without these pieces in place, we won't be able to start up. So it was a really key business deliverable for us to achieve in a really condensed time frame. If I was to relate this to our own lives, think about the way you run your household. There's just certain norms that you have. Where do you put the vacuum? What kind of milk do you buy? Is it 1%, 2%, or are you one of those weird families that does the full fat milk? That's what your management framework at home is. And so this management framework for us was really about how do we do all of the things that we need to do, and how do we make sure that we're going to be ready for that startup. So when we were analyzing this problem, we said we could go out and buy something off the shelf that would help us do this. And we kind of looked at the pros and cons of each of that buy versus build mindset. So in each of those, it has really similar steps. There's requirements. You need to meet with those vendors. You need to understand how their application can make it fit for you. And then you actually need to go out and deploy that application. But I think in our experience, that takes a significant amount of time, and time was probably our most limited resource. So we were looking at 4 to 6 months in order to buy something off the shelf when we could build it in-house with our own team of super talented people in about 2 months. Not only that, our experience has been that in cost effectiveness, it's much cheaper to build an application than it is to buy it. So typical off-the-shelf applications can cost anywhere from double to triple to quadruple to 10 times the cost of what some of these more simple right-size applications. And they're almost always a better fit for the business. It's hard to imagine something that's better suited to your business problem than exactly what you want. So when we decided to build it, it really started with this this project framing or this requirements meeting where we spent an afternoon in a boardroom and really drew pictures on a whiteboard and said, well, what are the things that we need to do? How do we need to set this application up? And what is all the underlying stuff that we need in the background? And for me, this was a huge moment of change in my career where I finally got to see technology living up to its promise of making my life faster, better, higher quality, and actually delivering a ton of business value. So it was a really remarkable time.
And so this program was a little bit different than the traditional programs where we generally let people have more autonomy. Based on the timelines and the significance of this project, we did decide to put a little bit of project management rigor on this. So we did collect some requirements. We did circulate those. Now those are measured in days, not weeks, probably hours and days, not weeks or months. We did put together some high-level process maps that we wanted to share, really just to validate our understanding of what we were about to build. We did go through our CDS data model design, just using Excel initially to think about what is the data that we want to capture, and then we would review that with Tyler and team saying, is this what you're looking for? And then we ran it in sprints. We use Azure DevOps. We ran it in 2-week sprints and ensured that there was clear accountability on what people were building. We did have that midpoint check-in. There's a couple other solutions in here as well for the other groups that participated in this bottom-up training as well. So we had the opportunity to share all of the learnings across those teams. And this is essentially what the architecture looks like, and we're going to see a demo here shortly. But it is really, when you think of the Power Platform, we are using most of it. We are using Canvas apps in order to create these tasks in bulk, the ability to assign tasks to different people, and then some admin functions. We have Flow, and in this case, Flow is doing what we typically see as some of the heavy lifting, where we have some digital nags. We're supporting the bulk creation process, bulk reassignments, and doing data snapshots so that we can actually do trending on the data. For Tyler and team, they really want to know, how are we trending? Are we trending in the positive direction? So we're actually using Flow to help capture that data. Then naturally, we also have Power BI, the third A. And in this case, we want to provide the end users that have tasks, their personal view of what are their tasks. Are they on track? Are they behind? And then also bring that up from a management perspective as well. So without further ado, we're going to let Tyler demo his new app. And this was something that was something that was deployed. We went through our change management process on Tuesday. This was deployed in production on Wednesday. This is a test version of that app so that people don't get unexpected digital nags from us.
Yeah, so I want to walk you through maybe one of the processes that I'm accountable for, and that's called manage threats and opportunities. And really what that's about is to say, what are the things that could threaten my business, and where are the opportunities that I have to actually improve it or grow the business? So that work process will have a certain amount of key deliverables that are almost those shall, we must do's, but there'll also be deliverables that I want to add to make sure that the process is really fit for purpose. So in our application, what we have is a level 1 activity that would say, manage threats and opportunities. We do a bulk create activity. So right now, Flow's creating all of those mandatory activities in the background. And this is how we'll measure our progress through the phases of management framework development. And then within this, I can actually create other activities to define further detail about my work process. And then on the next level below, in like level 3s, we can add tasks to fill out some of those other activities. So it's kind of like a typical cascading project plan or cascading work plan. The nice part as well is it's really easy for users to use. So as we assign activities both to people who are creating activities and assign activities further out in the organization, this is their one-stop place to come and do those updates and helps us really see where we are in terms of progress. And then, of course, the last piece is really on the reporting phase. And so Power BI has really brought a lot of transparency and visibility to us, not only on the management framework creation, but also work process by work process, how are we doing? And so with some really, simplified dashboards, and I say they're simple because that's what they look like to me, but it takes an enormous amount of work from really talented people to make them look this good, and I can't say how much I appreciate them enough. So it's just been a really remarkable tool that was launched just this week. We're starting to fill out that data, and will be really powerful to make sure that we make our milestone for startup.
I love this because you can see here they're using the whole platform. This session is called Bottom-Up Innovation with Microsoft Flow with Power Automate, but really, the whole platform is better together. Flow is the glue that moves things around behind the scenes, but looking at something like this, you really do truly get to see the whole platform coming together.
And it's something that we regularly experience as well. It's like we find that we're always have the 3, and 4 with CDS. But like we do see that the 3 A's really do mean something to us, and it's something that we see in every solution. In this case, we're taking advantage of embedding that Power BI experience right in the app. So people don't even have to leave it. And then naturally for some of the executives, they can just view Power BI as well and see the reports on their phone without having to go into the Power App. But here it's a one-stop shop for all of the work process owners, plus all of the people that own tasks.
And it's such a powerful translation of the data. So just being able to communicate it so clearly has really helped our organization progress.
Now, as part of the solution itself, we do have 5 flows, and we wanted to just take an opportunity to show you one. So Tyler previously demonstrated the bulk creation, where we essentially are seeding mandatory tasks in an entity inside a CDS. And then for each work stream, and there's approximately 35, when you click on bulk create as the work process owner, we want to automatically create those tasks, really to save that no one wants to be doing that manual work over and over again. So we're using Flow to go ahead and do that. So as we saw there, we have a Power Apps trigger where we're going to go ahead and receive the request from Power Apps. We're going to capture a few IDs. So one would be the creator ID, the person that's clicked the button, and then also the work process ID. So in Tyler's case, that managed threats and opportunities. We're then going to go into CDS, and we're going to obtain or retrieve all of those mandatory activities. And then for each activity, we're then going to go ahead and add an activity into CDS so that now we can manage it and we'll call it out as in progress. So the other thing that this does is it starts the clock. When someone goes ahead and clicks the button, leadership knows that people are on it and they can actually now start trending. And so we did this very deliberately to ensure that we could see when people had started, because if someone doesn't start something, well, it may not show up in the dashboard because it doesn't exist.
And this will be the way we drive consistency in the org as well, that this is the tool that we will manage our kind of progression through the management framework with. And if you're not using this tool, you're not progressing. So you shall, you must, you will use this tool.
So now I don't want to put like words in your mouth by any stretch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what were some of your feelings, like being new to the organization, joining in the summer, having the opportunity to see the Power Platform for the first time? Like, what were some of your thoughts?
It was really quite a remarkable experience. So I came from a super major oil and gas producer that is a really big ship and really steers slowly. And so when I came to Interpipeline, it's much more dynamic. They're much more open to those changes and open to applying new technology. I've seen it in Office 365, and boy, have I seen it in the Power Platform. So it got me like embarrassingly excited about Power Platform stuff, where it's a Saturday morning and I'm cranking out emails to Kent about different applications that I think we can build. And then on Wednesday, I get a meeting invite from Sarah to show me an application from an email that I just sent on Sunday. And it's like 80% there. So it was totally remarkable to see how fast, with the right people and the right business requirements defined, you can move your business. And the most powerful thing for me is we run a risky business. It's got stuff that wants to blow up, and it's got stuff that wants to run away in reactions, and it's got stuff that can really injure people. And these applications help us do that better. So it helps keep people safer, it helps make our business more profitable, and really empowers those frontline workers to do the very best that they can.
Man, I really hope that we don't have to be embarrassed to be passionate about the platform, because if so, I'm going to have to be embarrassed all the time.
And so naturally, this creates a pretty interesting situation at Interpipeline, where we've been able to take people that are new to the platform, get them involved in a small project, treat it more like a startup than your traditional, waterfall type initiative, and then actually have people to be able to contribute. So think of the situation where you've got someone who's just out of school, and they essentially become the lead developer on this application. And that's exactly what had happened here. Yep. For someone named Josh.
Josh, yeah.
And so, from a Interpipeline perspective, it's pretty interesting to see just how far we can take this. And then naturally, being able to deliver for the business is certainly something we're trying to do.
Well, and how much that changes the relationship with the business and IT. So that relationship at Interpipeline is like nothing else I've seen anywhere in the industry for any company I've ever worked with. Never has it been such an empowering relationship and such a symbiotic versus here's all the things you can't do and here's all the tools you can't have.
So I guess conclusion, you want to kick this off, John?
Or so I think a big important point here is let's talk about democratization. Let's not talk about labels, pro dev versus citizen dev, because then we box people in. I think an important thing to notice here is that everyone in the business can contribute something, whether it be an idea or a technical skill set or whatever it might be. Focus on democratizing and trying to include as many people as you can. Because we see the platform as a digital inclusion platform. It really can be widespread, and so I think that language is much better than the citizen dev language. Diversity comes in many forms. I'm going to skip down a couple lines here. Remember that people will do anything to avoid change at work, so make sure that you present things in an opportune way so that they can either A, look good, or B, avoid looking bad. And I think, Kent, why don't you touch a couple of those bottom points?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from an IT perspective, we're really trying to be flexible. We truly understand, especially when you have projects of this magnitude, that slowing them down isn't an option, right? And so for us, it forces us to change. It forces us to get out of that stuck mindset, that sort of concrete in your data center type mentality where it's like, no, this is what we do. And for us, it also creates good opportunities where we want to be part of the conversation. We want to be part of the success and contribute to the business as well. And so that's why we try to be flexible. And what that means is when we do talk to the business, we say, how do you want this solution to be delivered? Is this something where it's completely IT delivered? Is this something where it's IT-led and it's very much a collaborative process? Or is this something where it's the business-led? And business-led can mean many things. It can mean sort of the oversight and the management of the initiative, or it could be even doing some of this development itself. And it becomes, how do we actually help you? Do you have questions? Is this more of a phone a friend sort of engagement, or is this an opportunity where you need more support? And I think there's a saying where, meet your customers where they want to be met. Yep. And that's absolutely the strategy or the mentality that we're thinking about.
Yeah, I think it's the final point here is this is for everyone. It's not just about IT. It's not just about the business. Truly, Interpipeline here has proven that you can span both very successfully and not with major infighting, where everyone's telling each other no. Go ahead and hit the slide one more time, Kent. I want to leave them off with some resources here. So, very, very important. Oh, there's missing a link. I'm going to go ahead and just edit this slide and add the most important link for you here. So if you want this training, if you would like to run bottom-up innovation in your company, that bottom link right there, aka.ms/BUI. I've gone ahead and put together a trainer's guide on how you can take what Interpipeline's done here and do it in your company. There's decks to teach Power Apps. There's decks to teach Flow. There's a trainer's guide on how to break people up into groups, do idea generation, and bring this all together. We lost our last slides here. We're getting kicked off the stage, so thank you guys so much for your time today. Really appreciate you joining us.